Welcome back to the Rebel's Edge. It's our last Rebel's Edge of the week because, as you know, we go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, absent a holiday. That's what we do, folks. But we've got plenty to talk about today. So buckle your seatbelt, get ready for it. Here we come. Bang!
And we are off. Wow. It's going to be fun, John. I'll tell you what, a Thursday, it's beautiful outside. We're kind of, getting towards the end of the week, but we ain't there yet.
Nope, we're not there yet. But it's been a very good week, Pete, and a very busy one. By the way, folks, that NVDA that we spoke of just the last couple days, when we saw the huge unusual activity in there. Yeah, that stock went through 156 today. It almost printed 157, $11 higher than where it was when they bought those 59,000 calls. And yeah, that's been a big winner for us. And for those of you who are subscribers or who at least pay attention to the broadcasts here, you're probably pretty happy about that. But let's dive in, Pete, to the Macro Minute. He is, of course, Pete Najarian. I'm Jon Najarian. Macro Minute today, Pete, I'm going to say it's durable goods orders surging unexpectedly by over 16%, indicating resilience, of course, in manufacturing, despite concerns about, the consumer's not spending. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. What do you got, Pete?
I can tell you this, my boots on the ground says, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yeah. They are spending. I see it all the time, John. I've been talking about that just like you have. It's been crazy. My real quick macro minute is going to be this. The backdrop of what's going on with tariffs and with the conflicts and everything else, that's throw anything in there you want. The earnings season continues to go on. And you know what? How great is it, the fact that they just continue to crush it, which these are the real numbers. So we actually can go off of these numbers as opposed to, asking 100 people on the sidewalk somewhere up in Connecticut what they think. I mean, these are the real numbers, right? I mean, Micron last night, not so bad. General Mills, pretty damn good. Walgreens, pretty damn good. We got Nike tonight. We'll find out. I'm not so sure on Nike. That one I'm a little bit, I think the competition outside, John, is more about what's going to affect Nike than probably the folks not buying their products. The reason they're not buying their products is because there's so much competition out there, in my opinion. But it's an amazing, resilient market. There's no doubt about it. All you got to do is take a look at what we looked like this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, now Thursday. It's just incredible.
Yep. And always following Macro Minute, folks, we have fantastic futures. And I'm going to say, Pete, it's the 10-year. The 10-year futures, the 6th of June, were north of 455. 4.55. Where are they today? Barely holding on to 4.27. So people are beginning to think that whether it's Jay Powell or the rest of the voting members of that Open Markets Committee, we are going to see lower rates. We're going to see a rate cut. It's coming, Pete.
Mm-hmm. I would say this for my side of the fantastic futures. Of course, I'm going to talk about the VIX because I think it's important. It's the first two things that I look at every single day of the volatility index, and I like to look at where is the 10-year. And as I look at the volatility index, John, how about the fact that a week ago we were sitting there bumping up against 22, and now here we are in the 16s, and we've been talking about this pull down, even when the market actually got into negative territory, not as much effect. And I think that's really what we're examining now is, hey, look, at 16, are we getting about a 1% move? We're not even quite getting a 1% move right now, John, in the S&P. So I think that 16 is probably getting pretty daggone accurate overall in terms of what's going on and how volatility really stands right now. So I'm looking at that 16, and it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
All right. We've got another exciting webinar for this evening, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, a lot of you have joined us on these, and we certainly appreciate that. We do them at 4 p.m. because some of you who are active traders are pretty much done trading by that time of the day. Some of you who are working other jobs, probably not so convenient. That's why we send you a copy. All you've got to do is register. if you register for tonight's webinar, you will get access to it so you can ask us questions live. We'll get to as many as we can, but also you get a free copy of the entire presentation emailed back out to you. It's going to be covering how we set up our trades in the morning, featuring Jeff Garbaz, featuring Ryan Mastro, Mark Lopresti, and me tonight at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to join, by all means, follow those links. Just join us tonight by registering. Again, follow those links and you can register. We'll send you a free copy. There's no credit cards or anything else required. All right, Pete, let's talk about defense stocks because KTOS is a defense stock. It's called Kratos, and they are down rather hard because they're pricing nearly 13 million shares of common that they're going to be selling so that they can have, they're going to price it, by the way, at $38.50. They're doing this to raise money. And why do they need that? Well, because they've probably got a lot of demand for their products. And when you have that and your stock is up, it's not a bad time to maybe issue some more shares and take that money and spend it where it's best used to expand your growth and so forth. So I like this one, Pete, and I understand why it's down. It's not down because of earnings. It's down because of this underwriting.
Yeah, the underwrite at 38.50 is where they price that at, John. So it, got a little bit of pressure early on. It was down about 8%. It cut that in half. It's down now, call it anywhere between 3 and 4%. I think people are starting to wake up to what these guys do, how they do it, what a really good company that this is. Is the PE a little bit high? It probably is, but they also have some shorts in there as well. Comfortable cash burn when you look at the financials of the company. I think this is an opportunity on this pullback, John, to actually kind of get into this if you haven't been into it, or if you had, maybe it's even an opportunity to maybe add a little bit more. I think the demand that they're going to be having over the next months and years is going to be probably pretty staggering. So for that reason, I think this is an opportunity for people. Doesn't mean everybody should do it or wants to do it, but I can tell you, I think it does create an opportunity if you feel like this is one of those areas of the market that's going to be elevated. And I think that they are. When you're talking about defense, I think this is one of the first names people come up with.
Well, Pete, let's change gears and go over to a steel stock, a specialty steel stock called Worthington Steel. WS is the symbol. They came out with some news that spiked the stock all the way up over 32, Pete. But then it collapses back down to 30. It's only up 2% on the day right now. But at one point, it was up strong double digits. Basically, Worthington Steel testing underway for a bunch of presses in Mexico for their initial electrical steel production. That's the news that spiked the stock earlier today. But like I said, unfortunately, Pete, it didn't hold that spike.
Yeah, and they've got some good free cash flow at the company, John. You look at the earnings; they put up an earnings of 110. They were looking for 105, so they beat on that side of things. Revenue also was strong. So I look at that side of it, and I think, they've pieced together everything that you would want. And I think this is a company that over time probably continues this grind. I don't think people know the company very well, and that's part of the issue as well. When you look at it right now, John, the 52-week low was 21. The 52-week high was 47. Here we are trading close to 30. That's only a 10 PE. Now, understanding what that company does, oftentimes they tend to run a little bit lighter, and that's where they are. But it's meaningful progress is what the CEO was talking about for the long-term strategy. And I think that these guys are doing all the things that they need to be doing right now the right way. So I think that there's opportunity here as well, where when we talk about steel, and obviously that was kind of the start of all this tariff talk, right? A lot of it anyway was steel. That's something that I think is going to be something that continues to pop up over the next months and years. And I think this is a company that's probably well suited to be able to defend itself, I think, into the future.
Well, how about this one, Pete? I remember when everybody was buying these Herman Miller chairs. The company is now called Knoll, Knoll, Miller Knoll, and symbol MLKN. Basically, they're going to be opening 10 to 15 new stores across the country, Pete. targeting more than doubling their footprint over the next several years. That's pretty big. The stock popped on the opening, but similar to what we just said about Worthington Steel, it's holding some of that. It's right now up, I think, a little over 9%, Pete. But it was up as high as $20 today instead of $19.44, where I show it trading now. But it's pretty good news. And boy, they're going to be all over from London to New York to Chicago with these new stores. And I think it's positive. It shows there's a lot of demand for their product, Pete.
I don't disagree with you, John, but I do find it a little bit interesting that in a world that we live in, that they're expanding, right, themselves out there in brick and mortar. It's the only pushback I've got. I think you're right. I think it's an interesting company. I think they do a lot of things right. They've got a lot of people's attention out there. But God, in the world of online, I do question it a little bit, and maybe that's a little bit of the pause that we are seeing. There was that initial excitement, then a little bit of a pause. They talked about the appointments into the future. That's up about 11% year over year. That's something that they were kind of holding on to, but I don't know. I don't know that they have to do it the way they're doing. And I just am curious more than anything why they would not just kind of try to expand themselves into the world that we live in right now, which is everything by the computer. So I know people want to touch things. I know they want to go out and do that. I get that. But I just find it interesting that in a market that we see the expansion of that and not so much the brick and mortar, it does kind of make me just kind of pause for now. So this is a name. I like what they do, but I don't think I'm going to be chasing after it.
Yeah, I think, Pete, you hit it when you said they want to see it and touch it, because it's a more expensive product, quite frankly. They have $500 and $600 office furniture like their Aeron chair or Aeon chair, however you pronounce it, which is a really nice, it's a mesh, it tilts backwards, it raises up and down and all that kind of stuff. But there are alternatives that are more like $100. So right. For people that want to spend that much higher price, they probably want to see, touch, and feel a little bit of that in order to make that sale, that upgrade. But I'm not arguing with you. I think it's we can wait and see with this one.
Yeah.
All right. How about McCormick? McCormick Place in Chicago, named for McCormick, the spice company here, Pete. MCK. It's up today. Basically, earnings per share 69 cents, better than 66 cents. It's a spice company, folks. It's not like they're doing a cure for cancer. Although some people probably like a lot of their spices. I'm one of them that loves going in there and finding unique spices and so forth. But it's really rare that they would blow out the upper end of earnings or something else. So it's about guidance and earnings. And that's why, yeah, it's nice to see the stock up 5%, but we're more or less reporting it because McKesson, or rather McCormick, is a long-term stock that people have followed for years and years.
Yeah, it is interesting. They did a great job. You can't argue about what they did in the quarter. They beat on the revenue like you talked about. They beat on the earnings like you talked about. They increased year over year on their revenue, by the way. And they did reaffirm their 2025 outlook, John, now that they're getting through Q2. Their net sales, it's not going to blow people away. Their projections were somewhere between 0 and 2% growth for the full year of 2025. So is it interesting? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Did they beat? They absolutely beat. And that adds up another one to what we were talking about at the very beginning, which is, hey, earnings season has continued to show us that people are out there spending in different parts of the world, including, going into the kitchen and getting things from, McCormick. So I like what they're doing. They got great cash flow, John. Their free cash flow is fantastic. It's a stock that I think is very solid. And sometimes this is one of those areas where people, when they go to hide, this is probably one of those hiding places as well, because when they get nervous about the markets, they feel a little bit more confident about certain areas in the market, whether it's Coca-Cola or whatever. In this case, a spice company like McCormick. So I like it, but I don't. It doesn't really get me all that fired up. This is a little bit different company than a Palantir, for instance, as far as the trajectory of what the stock's going to do.
All right. Well, what do you got, Pete, as far as some sports for us today.
Yeah, I thought I'd kick it off a little bit, with college football, John, because I think it's kind of an interesting thing. I've been reading up all these different things. Yeah, I've been reading about a lot of the different teams out there, the different universities, what they've been doing. And one of the guys that I've always had a heck of a lot of respect for is Dabo Sweeney. I think he's done a terrific job at Clemson, obviously, for a very long period of time. He's not a guy who's all excited about the portal. He doesn't like a lot of the different things that have happened in college sports over the last few years. But that being said, he still has managed to do an unbelievable job of getting out there, John, and building a football team and continuing what he's been doing for many, many years now as a college football coach, which is winning. The guy has had an absolutely incredible record. And I think that the team that he has built for this year, and like I say, not a huge portal guy. He's very much against some of these things, but he's amazing what they've been able to do. And at each position, John, I could find guys that in the NFL draft this year are rated somewhere in the top 3 or 4 picks of the draft. They got a quarterback in there, Cade Klubnik. Now, this kid is considered right now one of the top quarterbacks that's going to be in the draft next year. They've also got a wide receiver. They've also got a guy who's a tight end. They've got a D tackle. They got an edge rusher. They've got just about everything, a corner that you'd ever want. And I just think it's really, really interesting in the day and age that we are in right now in college sports, where everybody's piling into the portal and everybody's doing this with NIL and all the things that are going on in college sports. And he's been a little bit pushed back, not so much on the NIL, but about the portal, because he wants to help develop these guys into great athletes and great players to get them maybe to the next level, at least give them an opportunity maybe to get to the next level. So I just think it's cool that to see Clemson just kind of rising with all these various positions. And these are guys that he's going out and recruiting, John, and somehow manages to hold on to these guys. And when you consider the rest of what's going on in college sports, college football particularly, it's amazing what he's been able to do. And my guess would be this: if he's got that much talent on this team, he must be somewhere. Clemson must be somewhere in that top 10 going into 2025 this year. I don't know where they are. They might be lower than that or higher than, maybe they're top 5 even, but they've got players that are supposedly going to be going to the next level like no other team that I have seen. I mean, they're in front of Alabama, Georgia, USC, all of them. So what do you think? I mean, his approach has been something that people look at, and they say, why isn't he doing this? But I think I like the fact that he's a man of commitment, and, he's got his ideas on how things should go.
Pete, he's got some man-childs on that team too. Both Peter Woods, who might be the best defensive player in all of college football, coming in, and he wears number 11. He's a D tackle, Pete, and he wears number 11. I love that, Sweeney and Clemson do this, because some teams, obviously, like Penn State has done it as well, and others, don't just put the offensive lineman or defensive lineman numbers on these guys. In particular, on defense, you can put whatever number you want on him. So he's wearing number 11. The other guy, this TJ Parker, is also just a handful. And both those guys are D-line. Parker is a little quicker. He's 6'3", 270. And he's only 20 years old, Pete. And the other guy, Peter Woods, is 6'3" and 320. And by the way, Parker, Pete, wears number 3. How'd you like to see a D lineman standing in front of you at 6'3", 270, and he's wearing number 3? So, it really kind of F's with the opposing team, because you look at the guy and you're like, what, number 3? And then he gets down there into his stance, and these guys are both just beasts, Pete. Mm-hmm. So as much as anything, you're right. They have a great quarterback. They've got a number of great prospects that are going to go high in the draft. Mm-hmm. If they can stay away from the injuries, these kids are all their starters are going to get drafted, Pete.
Yeah. It's amazing what he's built. Like I say, he's not out there aggressively going to the portal. He doesn't want his guys to go to the portal, and he doesn't want to go out there and fish guys out. So, you know what? Everybody's got their thing, but I really have a lot of respect for how he's approached it. How about the NBA draft, John? Now, the ratings aren't out, but I'm going to give my prediction right now that they don't have very high ratings. And part of the reason is people don't know all these basketball players, in particular, the basketball players from outside the United States, right? I mean, I think that's always been one of the things that's kind of held people back a little bit on that. But how about this? In the first 5 picks, Duke had 2 different players, and Rutgers, of all schools, Rutgers had 2 different players. And in the top 10, Duke had 3 players in the top 10 get drafted. So there's a reason why that program is always well respected, and they do such an amazing job, John, and everything that they do. But I thought one other stat that I thought was pretty interesting coming out of the draft was, of all the different conferences out there, you know who had the most draft picks come from their conference? It wasn't the ACC, not the SEC, it was the Big Ten. The Big Ten had 8 draft picks in the first round. That's pretty amazing. And, you know, the Big Ten, of course, every year has a heck of a lot of talent on all the players, you know, the different teams that are there. But I just found that part of it very interesting. And I'm just curious, did you get a chance to watch any of it, to see the man that I despise because of how he's run the NBA and how he was bringing up these guys? I did watch a little bit of it. And, you know, it's done well. It's done very similar to what the, you know, college football draft ends up being as far as the NFL, but it's not the same. And there's just no way that those ratings were anything close to what we see in the NFL, because I think that, unfortunately, the NBA has a black eye on it right now. And the black eye is this whole thing with the load management side of things that I think has ticked off a heck of a lot of people.
Yeah, there's no doubt of that, Pete. And I think you're also right about the foreign players. There are some great foreign players, of course. Yep. But even if they play in Canada, Americans haven't heard of them unless you're just really, you know, diving through all the stats and everything. You don't know who these guys are. Now, they're going to show you some highlights when you're watching the draft of the man playing in, you know, Croatia or in Turkey or wherever. But, you know, I just Greece these days, because a lot of great players coming out of Greece. Mm-hmm. I just don't think, Pete, that this is something that people care as much about, because once you get past the first round, also, it's no one's heard of these guys. Yeah, they might be stars in the coming weeks and months, but they're not stars yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is interesting. It's a lot different than the NFL draft for all those reasons, John, because the NFL draft, you know, you're going to all these college kids that are all over the country, but they're in this country. And so at least there's some a potential that you've heard the name before once or twice. Whereas in basketball, you've got guys in China, like you said, and there's people in Germany and Ukraine, wherever. And you know what? They just don't know those names, and it's not that exciting until they get there and show everybody how good they are, because they can be pretty unbelievable.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we appreciate all of you joining every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Make sure you follow those links to join us for the webinar this evening, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And Pete and I will be back on the Rebel's Edge Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. See you then.